You ever look at an algebraic expression and feel like you're trying to read some kind of secret code? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to be code breakers. Let's break down the anatomy of algebra so it all finally makes sense.
Okay, take a look at this. 4 to the 4th b squared. Yeah, it looks a little intense, doesn't it? Just a jumble of numbers and letters all mashed together.
So you might be asking yourself, what does this even mean? And you know what? That's a totally fair question. But by the end of this, you won't just get it, you'll actually be able to write stuff like this yourself.
To crack this code, we have to start with the most basic building blocks. And in the world of algebra, we call those factors.
A factor is really just one of the things being multiplied together to get a result. I like to think of them as the ingredients in a recipe. They're the individual parts that you combine to make the final dish. So for example, if you see the term 3a, all that means is you're multiplying 3 by a. So pretty simply, the factors are just 3 and a. See? Easy enough, right?
But what happens when it gets a little more complex? Let's take 7mn. Here we've got more ingredients. The individual factors are 7, m, and n. But you can also group them up. You could have 7m, or 7n, or even mn. And of course the whole thing, 7mn, is also a factor. It's all about the different ways you can group the pieces that are being multiplied.
Okay, let's move on to the next piece of the puzzle. What about that number that always seems to be sitting out front? Well, that has a special name, the coefficient. Now, the fancy term is numerical coefficient, but its job is actually super straightforward. All it does is tell you how many of that variable part you're actually dealing with. So if we see 8x, the coefficient is 8. It literally just means you have 8 of those x's. That's it.
All right, pop quiz. If you just see the letter x all by itself, what's its coefficient? I mean, there's no number in front of it, is there?
It's 1. There's an invisible 1 that's always in front of any variable just standing on its own. It's one of those little rules in math that's super easy to forget, but once you know it, you'll see it everywhere. You don't just have x, you have multiplied 1x.
Okay, let's get to my favorite part, those little numbers that hang out up top. These are called exponents, and they're basically a super powerful type of shorthand. They were invented to make life easier, and trust me, they do.
Every power like this has two parts. You've got the base and you've got the exponent. The base is the big number or variable that's being multiplied. And the exponent? That's the little number up top that tells you how many times to multiply that base by itself.
So in m squared, the base is m, and that little 2 tells us to multiply m by itself. Simple as that. M times m.
Now this is a really important point. The base isn't always just one little letter or number. When you see parentheses, like here, in 5y to the 4th, the entire thing inside those parentheses is the base. So this means we're multiplying the whole group, 5y, by itself 4 times.
Okay, so we've got our pieces. Factors, coefficients, and exponents. Now let's put it all together and see how these things let us translate between the long, messy version of an expression and that clean, tidy shorthand.
Just imagine for a second you had to write this out every time. A times A times A times B times B. Ugh, it's clunky, it takes up a lot of space, and it's really easy to make a mistake.
But now we know there's a much better way. We have 3 a's being multiplied, so that just becomes a to the 3rd power. And we have 2 b's being multiplied, so that's b squared. I mean, look how much cleaner and more efficient a cubed b squared is.
And of course, this works in reverse too. So if you see something like r to the 6th power, you now know exactly what that shorthand is telling you.
Yep, it's just r multiplied by itself 6 times over. See? The code isn't so scary once you know the rules. You can read it forwards and backwards.
And that's really the whole secret right there. Even the most complicated, intimidating-looking expressions, like that one we saw at the very beginning, are just built from these few simple, logical ideas we just walked through.
So let's do a quick recap of the code we just unlocked. We've got factors. Those are the basic ingredients being multiplied. We have coefficients. That's the number out front telling us how many. And we've got exponents, the awesome shorthand for repeated multiplication. And that really brings us to the main point. Algebra isn't just about finding what x is. It's a language. It's a tool for describing patterns and for building new things. So the real question isn't just, do you get it? It's, now that you know the basic anatomy, what are you going to build with it?